Michael Stevens had been to hundreds of hotel rooms in his 15-year career as a cybersecurity consultant. Vegas, Miami, New York, Chicago. They all started to blend together after a while. Same generic art on the walls. Same uncomfortable desk chairs. Same terrible coffee makers. But Michael had a habit that set him apart from most travelers. He swept every room for surveillance devices. It wasn't paranoia. It was professional courtesy to himself. In his line of work, corporate espionage was real. Competitors would love to know what security vulnerabilities he was being hired to fix, which clients he was meeting with, what strategies he was recommending. So every time he checked into a hotel, before he even unpacked, Michael did a sweep. The Luxor Grand Hotel in Las Vegas looked legitimate enough. 4 stars, good reviews, popular with business travelers. His company booked him a room on the 18th floor for a 3-day cybersecurity conference. Michael dropped his bags and pulled out his equipment, a small RF detector that could pick up wireless signals, a lens detector that could spot hidden cameras, and a thermal imaging device that could identify electronics hidden in walls. He started with the obvious places. Smoke detector. He pulled over a chair and examined it closely with his lens detector. The device had a small LED that would reflect light back if there was a camera lens present. The LED lit up. Michael froze. He looked closer at the smoke detector. It looked normal. White plastic casing, the standard test button, ventilation holes. But when he unscrewed the cover, his stomach dropped. There was a camera inside, a tiny professional-grade pinhole camera with a wide-angle lens, pointed directly at the bed, and it was actively recording, the small red light barely visible in the dim afternoon sun filtering through the curtains. Michael's hands started shaking. This wasn't corporate espionage. This was something else entirely, something worse. He immediately pulled out his phone to call the front desk, then stopped. Wait. Think like a security expert, not a victim. If there was one camera, there might be more. If this was a professional operation, calling the front desk might alert whoever was running it. They could wipe evidence, disappear, cover their tracks. Michael needed to document everything first. With trembling hands, Michael methodically swept the entire room. He found 3 more cameras, one in the bathroom vent, pointed at the shower, one in the television, pointed at the sitting area, one in the wall clock, covering the desk where business travelers might work on sensitive documents. 4 cameras, all professionally installed, all actively recording. Michael felt violated in a way he'd never experienced. Someone had been watching him undress, watching him shower, watching him sleep. The thought made his skin crawl, but the cybersecurity expert in him kicked into overdrive. He needed to trace where these feeds were going. He pulled out his laptop and his more sophisticated equipment, tools he used for penetration testing and network analysis. Within 20 minutes, he'd identified the wireless signals the cameras were transmitting on. They were all sending data to a local server somewhere in the hotel. Michael sat back, his mind racing. This wasn't a single creep with a hidden camera. This was organized, professional. Someone had installed multiple cameras in multiple spots, all feeding to a central collection point. This was a surveillance operation. How many other rooms had cameras? How many guests had been recorded? How long had this been going on? Michael made a decision. He couldn't just call hotel security. They might be involved. He couldn't just call the police. They might not understand the technical aspects of what he'd found. He needed to gather evidence first, then bring in law enforcement who could handle a case this complex. He spent the next hour photographing everything, documenting the camera locations, capturing network traffic data, and tracing the signal pathways. He even carefully removed one of the cameras and packaged it as evidence, making sure to preserve fingerprints. Then he called the one person he knew who could help, Detective Rachel Morrison of the Las Vegas Police Department's Cybercrimes Unit. They'd worked together on a case 3 years ago involving credit card skimmers in casino ATMs. She was smart, thorough, and she understood technology. Rachel, it's Michael Stevens. I need your help with something urgent. I'm at the Luxor Grand Hotel, and I found what appears to be a massive surveillance operation. There was a pause. Michael, are you serious? Dead serious. Multiple hidden cameras in my room, all feeding to a local server. Professional installation. I think this could be hotel-wide. We need to move carefully, or whoever's running this will destroy evidence and disappear. Don't touch anything else, Rachel said immediately. Actually, wait. You've already touched everything, haven't you? Michael smiled despite the situation. I documented everything first. I know protocol, Rachel. But this is big, really big, and we need to act fast. Give me 30 minutes. Don't leave that room. Don't tell anyone what you found. And don't do anything else that might alert whoever's running this. Rachel, bring a warrant. We're going to need to search hotel systems, and I don't think the management is going to cooperate willingly. Detective Morrison arrived 45 minutes later with 2 other cybercrimes detectives and a search warrant for Michael's room. She'd gotten a judge to sign off based on Michael's reputation and preliminary evidence, photos he'd texted her. "Show me," she said the moment she walked in. Michael walked them through each camera location. The detectives photographed everything, bagged evidence, and ran their own technical scans. "This is professional-grade equipment," one of the detectives said, examining the camera from the smoke detector. "Not something you buy on Amazon. This is the kind of gear intelligence agencies use, or organized crime." Rachel turned to Michael. "You said you think there are more rooms with cameras?" "I know there are." Michael pulled up his laptop. "Look at the network traffic. These 4 cameras in this room are transmitting to a server, but that server is also receiving data from at least 40 other sources in the hotel. 40 other rooms, Rachel. Minimum." The number hung in the air like a lead weight. 40 rooms, Rachel repeated quietly. "How many guests over how long?" "I don't know," Michael admitted. "But if each room hosts an average of 1 guest per night, and this has been running for even just a month, we're talking over 1,000 victims. Potentially more if it's been running longer." Rachel pulled out her phone. "I need to call this in. We're going to need a lot more resources." Within 2 hours, the Luxor Grand Hotel was swarming with law enforcement, FBI cybercrimes unit, local police, forensic technicians, legal teams. The hotel management was cooperative, once they realized they were victims too, not suspects. "We had no idea," the hotel manager said, his face pale. "I swear to you, we had no idea this was happening." Michael believed him. This wasn't a hotel operation. Someone had infiltrated their systems, installed cameras without their knowledge, and had been collecting footage for who knew how long. The FBI traced the server location to a maintenance room on the 3rd floor. When they breached the door, they found a sophisticated setup, racks of hard drives storing terabytes of video footage, routers managing the camera feeds, and equipment for processing and categorizing the recordings. But no one was there. Whoever had been running this operation had automated it. "We need to find out who's behind this," Rachel said, standing in the server room. "Michael, can you trace where this data was being sent?" Michael was already working on it. He connected to the server and started analyzing outbound connections. "Give me an hour." What Michael found made his blood run cold. The footage wasn't just being stored locally, it was being uploaded to multiple servers across the country. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas. Each server appeared to be collecting footage from multiple hotels. "This isn't just the Luxor Grand," Michael said, his voice shaking. "This is a network. Multiple hotels, multiple cities. We're looking at hundreds, maybe thousands of cameras." The FBI agent in charge, Special Agent Thomas Burke, leaned over Michael's shoulder. "Can you identify the other hotels?" "Working on it." Michael's fingers flew across the keyboard. "The data packets have metadata, location tags. I can reverse engineer which hotels based on IP addresses and network configurations." 20 minutes later, Michael had a list. 12 hotels across 6 major cities. All mid-range business hotels. All popular with corporate travelers. "Why business hotels?" one of the FBI agents asked. Michael knew the answer immediately. Business travelers have money. They have jobs they want to keep. They might be having affairs. They might be doing business deals they don't want public. They're perfect blackmail targets. Agent Burke nodded grimly. "This isn't voyeurism. This is organized crime. They're collecting compromising footage to extort victims." Rachel looked at Michael. "How do we find who's running this?" "We follow the money," Michael said. "They're storing all this data, which means significant server costs. They're probably already monetizing it, either through blackmail or by selling footage on the dark web. If we can find the financial transactions, we'll need a forensic accountant," Agent Burke said. "And we need to move fast. If whoever's running this figures out we've found their setup, they'll try to disappear." But Michael was already tracking something else. "Wait, I'm seeing real-time access to the server. Someone is connected right now, downloading files." Every person in the room froze. "Can you trace them?" Agent Burke asked. "I'm trying, but they're using a VPN and routing through multiple proxies. This is someone who knows what they're doing." Michael's hands moved frantically across his keyboard. "They're disconnecting," Michael said urgently. "I'm losing the trace." "Can you lock them out?" Rachel asked. "If I lock them out, they'll know we've found the system," Michael said. "But if I don't, they might delete everything." "Lock them out," Agent Burke decided. "We have enough physical evidence. Stop them from destroying the footage." Michael executed a series of commands, changing passwords and cutting network access. "Done. They're locked out. But they know we're here now." The investigation exploded in scope overnight. FBI teams raided the 11 other hotels Michael had identified. Every single one had the same setup: hidden cameras in dozens of rooms, local servers storing footage, automated uploads to external storage. The total number of cameras discovered, 487. The total number of potential victims, estimated at over 15,000 people across 2 years. The case made national news within 24 hours. Massive hotel surveillance ring discovered, dominated headlines. Victims started coming forward, people who had been blackmailed, who had received threatening emails with intimate footage, who had paid money to keep videos from being released. One victim, a married CEO named Jennifer Hayes, agreed to testify publicly.
She'd been staying at the Luxor Grand 6 months earlier for a conference. A week after she returned home, she received an email with a video of her in the shower and a demand for $50,000. "I paid," she admitted to investigators, her voice breaking. "I was terrified. I thought it was just someone who had hacked my phone or something. I never imagined it was the hotel itself, that hundreds of people were being targeted. I just wanted the nightmare to end." But paying hadn't ended it. The blackmailers came back demanding more money. Jennifer had paid over $200,000 before finally going to the police, just days before Michael made his discovery. "You weren't alone," Detective Morrison told her gently. "We've identified 37 other blackmail victims so far. Some paid, some refused, and had their footage leaked online. None of them knew this was part of a massive operation." The FBI's forensic accounting team traced the money. All payments had gone to shell corporations registered in offshore tax havens. But they made a breakthrough. One of the shell corporations had a bank account that was linked to a property in Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas. "That's our target," Agent Burke said at a briefing. "We hit it tonight. Full tactical team. These people have made millions off this operation. They might be willing to fight to protect it." Michael wasn't invited to the raid, but he watched from the FBI command center as tactical teams surrounded the Henderson property, a nondescript warehouse in an industrial park. The raid went smoothly, no shots fired, 3 people taken into custody, along with enough computer equipment to fill 2 moving trucks. The mastermind turned out to be Victor Chen, a 50-year-old former hotel security contractor who had lost his legitimate business during the 2008 financial crisis. He'd turned his knowledge of hotel security systems into a criminal enterprise. "He's not talking," Agent Burke told Michael the next day, lawyered up immediately. "But we don't need his confession. The evidence is overwhelming. We found videos, blackmail records, financial transactions, everything." "What about the other 2? Michael asked. "Small fish, technicians he hired to install cameras and maintain equipment. They're cooperating, giving us details about the operation." Turns out Chen has been running this for almost 3 years. Started with 2 hotels, expanded to 12, was planning to expand to 20 more. Michael felt sick. "How many victims total?" "We're still counting," Agent Burke said grimly. "But based on the footage we've recovered, probably close to 20,000 people were recorded. Most will never know. There's no way we can identify everyone from the videos. But everyone who was blackmailed or had footage leaked, we're contacting them." "What happens to all that footage?" Michael asked. "It's evidence for now. After the trials, it will be destroyed. We're not going to let it exist as potential ammunition for future blackmailers." Michael nodded, but something was bothering him. "Agent Burke, how did Chen install cameras in 12 different hotels without anyone noticing? Hotel security should have caught this." "That's the genius of it," Burke said. "Chen was a contractor. He'd approach hotels offering to do security upgrades, installing smoke detectors, updating surveillance systems, modernizing safety equipment. The hotels paid him to do it. He had legitimate access to every room. And while he was doing real upgrades, he was also installing his own cameras. So the hotels hired him to make them safer, and he used that access to compromise them," Michael said. "That's incredibly bold. Banks also incredibly stupid," Burke said. "Because now we have records of every hotel he worked at, which means we can identify hotels he might have targeted beyond the 12 we found. We're expanding the investigation." The investigation continued for months. More hotels were identified. More cameras were discovered. The victim count climbed to over 30,000 people. Michael testified at Chen's trial, explaining the technical aspects of the surveillance system. Chen's lawyers tried to argue that Michael had illegally accessed the server, that the evidence should be suppressed. "I was in my hotel room," Michael said calmly on the stand. "A room I had legally rented. I discovered cameras recording me without my consent. Everything I did after that was in service of documenting a crime and reporting it to law enforcement. There was nothing illegal about my actions." The jury agreed. Victor Chen was convicted on 487 counts of illegal surveillance, 127 counts of extortion, and multiple counts of wire fraud and identity theft. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison, but the case left ripples that extended far beyond Chen's conviction. Hotels across the country scrambled to improve security. New laws were passed requiring hotels to conduct regular security audits and allowing customers to sue for privacy violations. The Hotel Industry Association created a task force on guest privacy, and Michael found himself in demand as a speaker and consultant. Hotels wanted him to teach their security teams how to detect surveillance equipment. Cybersecurity conferences wanted him to share his story. Privacy advocacy groups wanted him to help develop better protections for travelers. "You've become the face of hotel privacy," Detective Morrison told him over coffee one day, 6 months after the initial discovery. Michael shrugged uncomfortably. "I was just doing what I always do, checking for cameras. I got lucky that I found something." "No," Rachel said firmly. "You were prepared. You had the skills, the equipment, and the knowledge to recognize what you were seeing. And most importantly, you didn't ignore it. You could have just checked out and moved to a different hotel. Instead, you reported it. You helped us catch a predator who had victimized thousands of people. But I can't stop thinking about all the people we couldn't help," Michael admitted. "All the people who were recorded and don't even know it. All the people who paid blackmail and are too ashamed to come forward. The ones who had their footage leaked and are living with that trauma." "I know," Rachel said softly, "but you stopped it from getting worse. You ended an operation that was expanding. How many more people would have been victimized if you hadn't found those cameras?" How much longer would Chen have operated if you'd looked the other way? She reached across the table and gripped his hand. Michael, you saved thousands of people from becoming future victims. That matters. That really matters. A year after the case broke, Michael received an email that made him realize the full impact of what he'd done. It was from a woman named Sarah Martinez, a hotel manager in Phoenix. Mr. Stevens, you don't know me, but I wanted to thank you. After reading about your case, I ordered a full security audit of my hotel. We found 12 hidden cameras that had been installed by a security contractor 2 years ago. We had no idea. Because of your discovery and your willingness to speak publicly about it, we caught our own surveillance operation before any guests were seriously victimized. You saved my hotel and protected hundreds of potential victims. Thank you. Michael shared the email with Rachel. I didn't even think about this, that going public would inspire other hotels to check their own properties. That's the power of speaking up, Rachel said. Your story gave other people a roadmap for what to look for. You've probably prevented dozens of similar operations just by making people aware this threat exists. More emails came in. From business travelers who now swept their rooms before unpacking. From IT professionals who had started specializing in privacy security. From victims of Chen's operation who felt less alone knowing others understood what they'd gone through. One email particularly moved Michael. It was from a 23-year-old woman who had been recorded in a hotel shower and blackmailed for $10,000. She'd paid, been ashamed, and never told anyone. When I saw the news about your case, I finally understood I wasn't the victim of random bad luck. I was part of a targeted operation. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong by trusting that my hotel room was private. The shame I'd been carrying wasn't mine to carry. It belonged to the criminals who violated my privacy. Your discovery freed me from that shame. I've since reported what happened to me, and I'm getting counseling. Thank you for caring enough to investigate and report what you found. Michael kept that email. It reminded him why the initial discomfort and fear of reporting had been worth it. 2 years after his discovery, Michael made a significant life change. He left his corporate cybersecurity job and founded a nonprofit organization called Privacy Shield, dedicated to educating travelers about privacy rights and helping them protect themselves from surveillance. You're walking away from a 6-figure salary to start a nonprofit? His former boss asked, incredulous. I have enough money, Michael said simply. What I don't have is peace of mind knowing that there are probably other operations like Chen's out there, that thousands of people are being victimized, and that most travelers have no idea how to protect themselves. Privacy Shield offered free resources, guides on how to sweep hotel rooms for cameras, lists of affordable detection equipment, step-by-step instructions for what to do if you find surveillance devices, and support for victims of illegal surveillance. Michael also lobbied for stronger laws. He testified before Congress about the need for federal privacy protections in hotels and short-term rentals. He worked with state legislators to pass laws requiring hotels to disclose their security practices and face serious penalties for privacy violations. You've become an activist, Detective Morrison observed when they met for their annual coffee catch-up. I didn't plan to, Michael admitted. But after seeing how many people were hurt by Chen's operation, and after realizing how vulnerable travelers are, I couldn't just go back to my normal life. I had knowledge and skills that could help people. It felt irresponsible not to use them. Rachel smiled. That's exactly what the world needs, people who can't look away from problems they have the ability to fix. Privacy Shield grew rapidly. Within a year, Michael had a team of 5 people, all former cybersecurity professionals, who shared his passion for privacy rights. They created educational videos that went viral, developed a mobile app that could detect hidden cameras using a smartphone, and partnered with hotels that wanted to certify themselves as privacy verified. One of Michael's most successful initiatives was a partnership with corporate travel departments. He convinced major companies to require their employees to sweep hotel rooms before conducting any business activities or personal activities that might be compromising. We've trained over 100,000 corporate travelers in the past year, Michael told a gathering of privacy advocates. And you know what's happened? They've found 247 hidden cameras across 89 different hotels. Most were isolated incidents, individual predators rather than organized operations. But each discovery prevented potential victimization. The crowd applauded, but Michael's expression remained serious. Here's what worries me. Those are just the cameras we found. How many are still out there? How many hotels have we never checked? How many short-term rentals? How many Airbnbs? The problem is bigger than one criminal operation. It's an entire ecosystem of privacy violation that we've tolerated because we didn't know how to detect it. He clicked to his next slide, a map of the United States covered in red dots. Each of these dots represents a confirmed case of illegal hotel surveillance that's been reported to authorities in the past 2 years. Notice anything? The audience murmured. The dots were everywhere. This isn't a Vegas problem, or a New York problem, Michael said. This is everywhere. Small towns, big cities, expensive hotels, budget motels. The threat is universal because the technology is cheap, and the payoff for criminals is high. A hand went up. What's the solution? Michael had been thinking about that question for 2 years. Multiple solutions. First, stronger laws with serious penalties. Second, regular third-party security audits for all hotels. Not optional, but required. Third, technology that makes surveillance harder, like lens detectors built into smoke detectors, so cameras can't hide there. Fourth, education so every traveler knows how to protect themselves. He paused. But most importantly, we need to change the culture. Right now, if you find a camera in your hotel room, You might feel embarrassed or violated, like you did something wrong. We need to flip that. Finding a camera should be seen as responsible vigilance, reporting it should be seen as civic duty, and the shame should fall entirely on the criminals who installed it, not on the victims who were recorded. 3 years after Michael's initial discovery, the case took an unexpected turn. The FBI contacted him with new information. "We've been analyzing the financial records from Chen's operation," Agent Burke explained over a secure video call. "We found something interesting. Chen was selling footage to a third party, someone we haven't identified yet. A lot of footage. Millions of dollars worth." Michael felt his stomach drop. "You mean the footage still exists? It's still out there?" "We're trying to track it down," Burke said. "But this third party is sophisticated. They're using cryptocurrency, dark web marketplaces, and layers of anonymity. It's going to take time to identify and locate them." "How much footage did Chen sell?" Michael asked, dreading the answer. "Based on the financial transactions, we estimate about 40% of what he collected. That's thousands of videos of people in vulnerable moments, showering, changing, sleeping. Some engaged in intimate activities, all being sold to unknown buyers for unknown purposes." Michael ran his hands through his hair. "So even though we stopped Chen, the damage is still ongoing?" "Yes," Burke said bluntly, "and it gets worse. We think the buyer might be using the footage to create new blackmail schemes. We've had reports of people being extorted with videos they didn't know existed, videos that match the profile of Chen's footage." "What do you need from me?" Michael asked. "Your expertise. We're setting up a task force to track down this buyer and recover the footage. We need someone who understands the technology and the criminal mindset. Are you interested?" Michael didn't hesitate. "Absolutely. When do we start?"
The FBI's Illegal Surveillance Task Force brought together experts from multiple fields: cybercrime investigators, forensic accountants, digital forensic specialists, and Michael as a consultant on surveillance technology. Their target: identify and locate whoever was buying and redistributing Chen's footage. It was painstaking work. They tracked cryptocurrency transactions through multiple wallets and exchanges. They monitored dark web marketplaces where similar footage was sold. They analyzed metadata from videos that had been leaked online, trying to match them to Chen's cameras. After 4 months of investigation, they got their first break. A Bitcoin wallet that had purchased footage from Chen had also purchased similar content from 2 other sources, indicating this wasn't just about Chen's operation, but about building a large collection of illegal surveillance footage. "This person is a collector," Michael told the task force at a briefing. "They're not just buying random footage, they're systematically acquiring surveillance content from hotels, changing rooms, bathrooms, anywhere people expect privacy. This is someone with a specific interest in voyeuristic content, or someone building a library for resale," Agent Burke added. "The amounts of money moving through these transactions suggest this is a business, not just a fetish." They traced the Bitcoin wallet to a VPN exit node in Romania, then to a proxy server in Thailand, then to a residential IP address in Dallas, Texas. "We've got a location," Burke announced. "Let's see who we're dealing with." The name attached to that IP address made everyone in the room sit up. Thomas Richardson, 44, CEO of DataSafe Security Solutions, a company that sold privacy protection software to hotels and businesses. "He was selling privacy protection while collecting illegal surveillance footage," one of the agents said, incredulous. "It's perfect cover," Michael said grimly. "He had legitimate reasons to be interested in hotel security systems. He probably used his position to identify hotels with weak security, then purchased footage from operations like Chen's that were exploiting those weaknesses." "Can we prove it?" Burke asked. Michael pulled up financial records. His company made payments to shell corporations linked to Chen. The timing matches when footage was being uploaded to the storage servers. "And look at this. DataSafe Security Solutions has contracts with 8 of the 12 hotels where Chen installed cameras." Burke smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "He was probably helping Chen identify targets. This is conspiracy. Let's take him down." The raid on Thomas Richardson's home and office in Dallas yielded a massive trove of evidence. Servers containing over 100 terabytes of illegal surveillance footage, financial records showing purchases from multiple surveillance operations across the country, communications with Chen and other criminals discussing specific hotels and target profiles. But the most damning evidence was Richardson's ledger, a detailed record of every video he'd purchased, categorized by content type, with notes on potential blackmail targets. He wasn't just collecting, Agent Burke told Michael after reviewing the evidence. He was weaponizing it. He identified people in positions of power or wealth, researched them, and then either blackmailed them directly or sold their specific footage to others who would. Michael felt physically ill looking at the ledger. Hundreds of names. CEOs, politicians, lawyers, doctors, people whose careers would be destroyed if certain footage became public. People who had paid millions of dollars in total to keep their privacy violations secret. How many people did he blackmail? Michael asked. "We've identified 63 direct victims so far," Burke said. "But there are coded entries in the ledger that we haven't deciphered yet. Could be more. And we're still tracing everyone he sold footage to." Richardson, unlike Chen, tried to cooperate. His lawyer negotiated a plea deal, full disclosure of his operation in exchange for a reduced sentence. In his FBI interview, Richardson was coldly matter-of-fact about his crimes. "It was brilliant business," he said without apparent shame. "I was in the security industry, so I understood the technology. I knew which hotels had weak security. I knew what kind of footage had value. I built a marketplace connecting suppliers like Chen with buyers who wanted specific content. I took a commission on every transaction." "You destroyed people's lives," Michael said, watching the interview from behind one-way glass. "I provided a service," Richardson corrected. "People were willing to pay enormous amounts for privacy. That's market demand. I just facilitated the transaction." Agent Burke had to physically restrain Michael from storming into the interview room. "He's a sociopath," Burke said. "He genuinely doesn't understand what he did wrong. But don't worry, the jury will. He's going away for a long time." Richardson was sentenced to 35 years for extortion, conspiracy, wire fraud, and trafficking in illegal surveillance footage. His company was dissolved, his assets seized to compensate victims, but Michael knew the damage couldn't be fully undone. The footage Richardson had sold was still out there, in the hands of unknown buyers, potentially being used for purposes they couldn't even imagine. 5 years after Michael's discovery at the Luxor Grand, the case continued to evolve. The FBI had identified and arrested 12 additional people involved in Richardson's network, buyers who had used the footage for blackmail, distributors who had sold it on dark web marketplaces, and even a few hotel employees who had helped install cameras in exchange for payment. But despite these successes, Michael knew they were fighting a losing battle against technology. "New cameras are getting smaller," he told a conference of hotel security professionals. "They're getting cheaper. They're getting harder to detect. For every operation we shut down, 3 more pop up. We're not winning. We're just holding the line." He clicked to a slide showing the latest hidden camera technology, devices disguised as phone chargers, clock radios, picture frames, even electrical outlets. Some were so small they could be hidden in a screw head. "The technology is evolving faster than our detection methods, faster than our laws, faster than our ability to educate travelers about the threat. So what do?" He paused, looking around the room at hundreds of hotel security directors and managers. "We changed the game. Instead of trying to find every camera, we make hotels fundamentally inhospitable to surveillance. We use encryption and network segmentation so even if someone installs a camera, it can't transmit data. We use electromagnetic shielding so wireless devices can't function. We use artificial intelligence to monitor network traffic for unusual patterns that might indicate hidden cameras." Michael clicked to his next slide, a blueprint for what he called privacy-first hotel design. "This is the future of hotel security, not just trying to catch criminals after they've installed cameras, but making it technologically impossible for cameras to work in the first place. It's expensive, it's complicated, but it's the only way to truly protect guest privacy." One hand went up. "Mr. Stevens, your proposed design would cost millions per hotel. Most properties can't afford that. Then charge guests a premium for certified privacy-protected rooms," Michael suggested. "Create a tier system, standard rooms with normal security, and premium rooms with advanced privacy protection. Let travelers choose how much their privacy is worth to them." Another hand, "Won't that just create inequality? Only wealthy people get privacy." Michael sighed. "Maybe, but right now nobody has real privacy. At least this way, some people would. And as the technology becomes more affordable, we can expand it. But we have to start somewhere." The conference attendees were divided. Some saw Michael's vision as the future. Others saw it as impractical, expensive, or creating more problems than it solved. But 3 hotel chains approached Michael after his presentation, interested in piloting his privacy-first design in select properties. "This is how change happens," Detective Morrison told him when he shared the news. "Not all at once. Not with everyone agreeing, but with a few brave early adopters willing to try something new." 6 years after the initial discovery, Michael received an invitation that would profoundly change his perspective on his work. Jennifer Hayes, the CEO who had been one of Chen's blackmail victims, was organizing a support conference for victims of illegal surveillance. She wanted Michael to speak. "I don't know if that's appropriate," Michael told her over the phone. "I'm not a victim. I found cameras before they recorded anything compromising. I don't know what you all went through." "That's exactly why you should come," Jennifer said firmly. "We need to hear from someone who stopped it, someone who shows that fighting back is possible. And honestly, Michael, you need to hear from us. You need to understand the full human cost of what you prevented from continuing." Michael agreed to attend. The conference was held in Chicago, and over 200 victims of illegal hotel surveillance attended. People from Chen's operation, from Richardson's network, and from other cases that had been discovered in the wake of Michael's initial revelation. He listened to their stories with growing horror and heartbreak. A woman whose marriage had ended after her husband received anonymous footage of her with another man. Even though the affair had ended years before and they'd reconciled, the footage had reopened wounds and destroyed trust that couldn't be rebuilt. A politician whose career had been destroyed when footage of him in a vulnerable moment was leaked online. He'd been sober for 5 years, but the video showed him drunk and making racist comments in what he thought was the privacy of his hotel room.
Context didn't matter. His career was over. A transgender woman who had been outed to her conservative family through surveillance footage showing her in moments of private vulnerability. She'd lost her family, her church community, and nearly lost her life to suicide. Story after story of lives damaged or destroyed by privacy violations. When it was Michael's turn to speak, he stood before them feeling inadequate. "I don't have words that can undo what happened to you," he began. "I can't give you back your privacy. I can't erase the footage that exists. I can't undo the blackmail, or the public exposure, or the relationships that were destroyed." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "What I can tell you is that your trauma wasn't meaningless. Every person who has spoken at this conference, every person who has been brave enough to come forward and share their story, you've helped us catch criminals. You've helped us change laws. You've helped us educate travelers about threats they didn't know existed." Michael's voice grew stronger. "Jennifer, when you first reported being blackmailed, you gave us a thread that eventually led to Richardson's network. Marcus, when you testified about the footage that was leaked of you, you helped prosecutors understand the full impact of these crimes, which led to longer sentences. Rebecca, when you worked with us to trace the Bitcoin payments, you helped us identify buyers we wouldn't have found otherwise." He looked around the room. "Every single one of you has turned your victimization into advocacy. You've prevented other people from experiencing what you experienced. That doesn't erase your pain, but it gives it meaning, and that matters." A hand went up. It was Jennifer. "Michael, I have a question. Do you ever feel guilty that you weren't recorded, that you found the cameras before anything happened to you?" The question hit Michael like a physical blow, because yes, he did feel guilty about that. Survivor's guilt, maybe. The randomness of who gets hurt and who gets spared. "Yes," he admitted. "I feel guilty that I had the skills to detect cameras when most people don't. I feel guilty that I found them before they recorded anything compromising. I feel guilty that I can talk about this case without personal trauma attached to it." He sat down on the edge of the stage, more informal now. "But a therapist I talked to said something that helped me. She said that guilt about being spared is only useful if you transform it into action. That feeling bad about your privilege doesn't help anyone, but using your privilege to fight for others does." Michael looked at Jennifer. "That's what I've tried to do. Use the fact that I wasn't personally victimized as motivation to protect others. Use my technical knowledge to detect threats. Use my platform to educate people. Transform the guilt into purpose." Jennifer nodded, tears in her eyes. "That's what we're all trying to do too." But Michael's crusade came with personal costs he hadn't anticipated. His marriage suffered. His wife Linda had been supportive at first, but as Michael became more consumed with Privacy Shield, testifying at trials, speaking at conferences, and investigating new cases, she felt abandoned. "You're never home," she said during one particularly painful argument. "You're always traveling, always working, always focused on other people's problems. What about us? What about our life?" "This is important," Michael said defensively. "People are being hurt. I can help them. And I'm your wife," Linda shot back. "I'm important too. But you've made this cause more important than our marriage, more important than our future, more important than me." They tried counseling. The therapist asked Michael a question that haunted him. "If you solved every privacy violation in the world tomorrow, would you stop? Or would you find another cause to devote yourself to?" Michael didn't have an answer. 6 months later, Linda asked for a divorce. "I love you," she said, crying, "but I can't compete with your mission, and I shouldn't have to." Michael didn't fight it. Part of him knew she was right. After the divorce, Michael threw himself even deeper into his work. Privacy Shield expanded to international operations. He consulted on cases in Europe and Asia. He testified before parliaments and congresses. He wrote a book about surveillance threats that became a bestseller. But he was lonely, and he was exhausted. And sometimes, late at night in yet another hotel room, always swept for cameras, always secured, he wondered if Linda had been right, if he'd sacrificed too much for a fight that would never truly be won. Detective Morrison noticed during one of their coffee meetings. "You okay? You look burned out." "I'm fine," Michael lied. Rachel didn't buy it. "Michael, you've been running on rage and purpose for 7 years. That's not sustainable. Have you thought about stepping back, letting someone else lead Privacy Shield?" "And do what?" Michael asked. "Go back to corporate cybersecurity? Pretend I don't know what's happening to people? Ignore the fact that there are still operations out there victimizing people?" "No," Rachel said gently. "Take care of yourself so you can continue this work for the long haul. You can't save everyone, Michael, and you're going to destroy yourself trying." Michael knew she was right, but he didn't know how to stop. 7 years after his discovery at the Luxor Grand, Michael got a call that reignited his sense of purpose in a healthier way. It was from a graduate student named Alex Chen at MIT. "Mr. Stevens, I've been following your work for years. I think I've developed something that could help." Alex explained that he'd created an AI system that could analyze hotel network traffic and identify hidden cameras with 94% accuracy, even cameras that were well hidden or using sophisticated evasion techniques. "The AI looks for patterns in data transmission that are consistent with video streaming," Alex explained. "Frame rates, file sizes, compression artifacts. Even if the camera is using encryption or routing through multiple proxies, there are telltale signs. The AI can find them." Michael was skeptical at first. He'd seen plenty of detection technologies that promised more than they delivered. But when Alex demonstrated the system, Michael was stunned. The AI had scanned the network of a test hotel and identified 17 devices that were transmitting video data without proper authorization. 16 of them were legitimate, guests using video chat or streaming services, but the 17th was a hidden camera. "This is incredible," Michael breathed. "If we could deploy this across hotel networks, that's what I'm hoping," Alex said. "But I need help scaling it. I need partnerships with hotels. I need funding. I need someone who understands the legal and privacy implications. I need you." Michael saw an opportunity, not just to detect cameras, but to fundamentally shift from reactive to proactive protection. He brought Alex into Privacy Shield as Chief Technology Officer. Together, they launched SafeStay, a network security system that hotels could install to automatically detect and disable unauthorized surveillance devices. The first pilot program was at a hotel chain in Seattle. Within a week, the system had detected 3 hidden cameras that had been installed by a contractor months earlier. The hotel had no idea they were there. "This changes everything," the hotel's security director said, watching the system flag suspicious network activity in real time. "Instead of hoping guests don't get recorded, we're actively preventing it." Within a year, SafeStay was deployed in over 500 hotels across North America. The system detected and neutralized dozens of hidden cameras, prevented countless privacy violations, and gave travelers a new sense of security. More importantly for Michael, it represented a shift in his work. Instead of just responding to crises, he was preventing them. Instead of just catching criminals after the fact, he was making it harder for them to victimize people in the first place. "This is sustainable," Rachel observed when they met for coffee to celebrate SafeStay's first anniversary. "This is you using your skills to create systems that work without you having to personally be everywhere. You're building infrastructure, not just fighting fires." Michael nodded, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Not hope that they'd eliminate surveillance threats entirely, but hope that they were genuinely making progress. That the balance was shifting in favor of privacy and protection. 8 years after the Luxor Grand discovery, Michael received a letter that surprised him. It was from Victor Chen, the original mastermind, still in federal prison. Michael almost threw it away unread. What could Chen possibly say that would matter? But curiosity won. He opened it. "Mr. Stevens, you probably don't want to hear from me. I'm the person who created the nightmare you've spent years fighting. I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I'm writing because I have information that might help you. I've been in prison for 8 years. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did, about the people I hurt, about the lives I damaged for profit. I tell myself I was just a businessman exploiting a market opportunity, but that's bullshit. I was a predator who violated people's most intimate moments. Here's why I'm writing. I wasn't the first. When I started my operation, I studied others who had done similar things. I learned from their techniques, their mistakes, their successes. There's a whole underground community of people who share information about surveillance operations, where to buy equipment, how to avoid detection, which hotels have weak security. I can give you names, locations, techniques, information that could help you identify operations before they victimize thousands of people like mine did. I'm not doing this for a reduced sentence. My lawyer says it won't help me at this point. I'm doing it because it's the only way I can partially atone for what I've done. If you're interested, contact my attorney. I'll tell you everything I know. Victor Chen. Michael stared at the letter for a long time. Every instinct told him not to trust Chen. The man had shown himself to be manipulative, calculating, and devoid of remorse during his trial. But what if the offer was genuine? What if Chen really did have information that could prevent other operations? Michael called Agent Burke. "I need advice on something unusual." After reading the letter, Burke was quiet for a moment. "It could be legitimate. Criminals sometimes do cooperate after they've exhausted their appeals and realize they're never getting out. They want to feel like they're doing something meaningful with the rest of their lives. Or it could be a manipulation," Michael said. "Also possible," Burke agreed. "But here's the thing, even if his motives are selfish, the information might be valuable. We can verify anything he tells us. If it's bullshit, we walk away. If it's legitimate, we might catch people we wouldn't have otherwise." Michael made the decision. "Set up the meeting. But I want you there, and I want everything he tells us independently verified before we act on it."
The meeting with Victor Chen took place in a federal prison conference room, with Agent Burke, 2 other FBI agents, and Michael present. Chen looked older than his 58 years, gray and tired. "Thank you for coming," Chen said quietly. "I wasn't sure you would." "I'm here for the victims," Michael said coldly. "Not for you. If you have information that can protect people, I want it. If this is some kind of game, I'll walk out." "It's not a game," Chen said. He slid a stack of papers across the table, handwritten notes, names, locations, technical details. "This is everything I remember about the underground network I was part of. Forums where people share techniques, suppliers who sell equipment designed specifically for covert surveillance, contractors who install cameras under the guise of legitimate work." Over the next 3 hours, Chen detailed an entire ecosystem of illegal surveillance that went far beyond what Michael had imagined. He named names, other operators who were running similar schemes. He described techniques for identifying vulnerable hotels and installing cameras without detection. He explained how footage was valued and sold in underground markets. "Why are you telling us this now?" Agent Burke asked. "You could have cooperated during your trial and gotten a reduced sentence." Chen was quiet for a moment. "Because during my trial I still thought I might beat the charges. I still thought I might get out someday. I was protecting my network because I thought I might need them again." He looked directly at Michael.
But I've been in here 8 years now. I'm 58 years old with 37 years left on my sentence. I'll die in prison. And I've had a lot of time to think about what I did, about the woman who killed herself after her footage was leaked, about the marriages I destroyed, about the children who found out their parents had been blackmailed. His voice cracked. I can't undo any of that. But maybe I can stop others from doing what I did. Maybe that's worth something. Michael didn't know if Chen was sincere or just trying to feel better about himself. But over the next 6 months, as the FBI verified Chen's information, they discovered he'd been telling the truth. They shut down 3 active surveillance operations Chen had identified. They arrested 4 individuals running similar schemes. They identified and disabled over 200 hidden cameras across 6 states. Chen's information has been invaluable, Agent Burke told Michael. We've made more progress in 6 months than in the previous 3 years. I hate to say it, but we needed his insider knowledge. Michael felt conflicted. Chen had victimized thousands of people. He deserved every year of his sentence. But his cooperation was now preventing others from being victimized. Can evil be redeemed? Michael asked Rachel over coffee. She thought about it. I don't know if Chen himself can be redeemed. But maybe his information can be. Maybe we can take something that came from a terrible source and use it for good. That doesn't make him a good person. It just means we're not wasting potentially useful information because we don't like where it came from. Michael decided to maintain the connection with Chen, treating it as a purely transactional intelligence source. Chen continued providing information from prison, names of people he'd worked with, details about techniques that were being used, insights into how surveillance networks operated. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't redemption. It was just a practical recognition that even bad people sometimes had useful knowledge. 10 years after finding that camera in the Luxor Grand, Michael stood at a privacy rights conference in Washington, D.C., looking at a slide that showed the impact of a decade of work. The numbers: 73 surveillance operations shut down, 847 hidden cameras discovered and disabled, 150,000 potential victims protected, SafeStay system deployed in 2,400 hotels across North America. Privacy Shield educational materials reached 8.3 million people. But the numbers that mattered most to Michael were more personal. Jennifer Hayes had rebuilt her career and was now an advocate for privacy rights. Sarah Martinez Hotel had become a model for privacy-first design. The woman who had emailed him about being freed from shame had started a support group for surveillance victims. Alex Chen's AI system was now preventing violations before they happened. 10 years ago, Michael told the audience, I found a camera in my hotel room. I could have just checked out and moved to a different hotel. I could have decided it wasn't my problem. I could have let fear or inconvenience stop me from reporting it. He paused, looking around the room. But I made a different choice. I chose to investigate, to document, to report, to fight. And that choice led to a decade of work that has protected tens of thousands of people from privacy violations. Michael clicked to his next slide, a photo of himself in that Luxor Grand hotel room 10 years ago, examining the smoke detector with his lens detector. This is the moment that changed my life. But here's what I want you to understand. This moment was only possible because I had prepared for it. I had the skills, I had the equipment, I had the knowledge, and most importantly, I had the mindset that privacy matters and is worth protecting. He looked directly at the audience. Every single person in this room has the power to be that person for someone else, to be the person who notices something wrong and refuses to ignore it, to be the person who has the skills to detect threats and the courage to report them, to be the person who transforms a moment of discovery into a movement for change. Michael's voice grew passionate. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you're personally victimized. Don't wait for someone else to solve the problem. If you have skills, use them. If you see something wrong, report it. If you can make a difference, make it. He clicked to his final slide, a quote he'd adopted as Privacy Shield's motto. Privacy is not about having something to hide. It's about having something to protect. Your dignity, your autonomy, your right to exist in private moments without surveillance. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes.
After the conference, Michael found himself in the hotel bar, exhausted but satisfied. A young woman approached his table hesitantly. Mr. Stevens? I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Amanda Cole. I'm a graduate student studying cybersecurity at Georgetown. Michael smiled. No bother at all. What can I do for you? Amanda sat down, nervous. I just wanted to tell you that you're the reason I'm in this field. 7 years ago, my family stayed at a hotel where you discovered cameras. We were one of the rooms that was being recorded. I was 17 years old. Michael felt his heart sink. I'm so sorry. Did the footage? Nothing happened to us, Amanda interrupted. Because you found the cameras before anything really compromising was recorded. Because you reported it and the FBI seized everything before it could be distributed. Because you cared enough to investigate instead of just changing hotels. She pulled out a photo, a family portrait. This is my family. My parents are still married. My younger sister is thriving in college. I'm getting my master's degree. We're okay, Mr. Stevens. We're more than okay. And it's because you made a choice 10 years ago to care about strangers. Tears ran down Amanda's face. I'm going into cybersecurity because of you. Because you showed me that technical skills can be used to protect people. That one person with knowledge and courage can save thousands. That fighting for privacy and dignity matters. She handed Michael an envelope. This is my master's thesis. It's about using blockchain technology to create tamper-proof audit trails for hotel security systems, making it impossible for hidden cameras to be installed without leaving a permanent record. I developed it because I wanted to continue what you started. I wanted to be part of making sure what almost happened to my family doesn't happen to others. Michael opened the envelope with shaking hands. The thesis was sophisticated, innovative, exactly the kind of next-generation thinking that could transform hotel security. Amanda, this is brilliant, he said, reading through the abstract. Have you thought about turning this into a real product? Actually, Amanda said, smiling, that's the other reason I wanted to talk to you. I'm hoping Privacy Shield might be interested in developing it. I'm hoping you might be interested in mentoring me. Michael felt something shift in his chest. The burden he'd been carrying alone for 10 years suddenly felt lighter, because here was proof that his work was creating ripples beyond what he could do himself. Here was the next generation, inspired and equipped to continue the fight. I'd be honored to mentor you, Michael said. And yes, Privacy Shield is absolutely interested. When can you start? 12 years after that fateful night at the Luxor Grand, Michael Stevens stood in a hotel room in Boston, training a new generation of privacy advocates. The room was full of young professionals, cybersecurity experts, hotel security managers, privacy rights activists, law students, all learning how to detect surveillance threats and protect travelers. This, Michael said, holding up a modern smoke detector, looks innocent. But watch. He used a lens detector, and a tiny LED light reflected back, indicating a hidden camera. The audience gasped. Hidden cameras are still a threat, Michael said. The technology keeps evolving. The criminals keep adapting. But so do we. And now, you're part of that fight. He looked around the room at faces that reminded him of his younger self. Idealistic, skilled, ready to make a difference. 12 years ago, I found a camera in my hotel room and made a choice. That choice led to thousands of people being protected, to laws being changed, to an entire industry rethinking how they approach privacy. But I can't do this work forever. None of us can. Michael gestured to Amanda Cole, now Privacy Shield's Chief Innovation Officer, standing at the back of the room. That's why we need you. We need the next generation to take these tools, these techniques, these principles, and push them further, to develop new technologies we haven't imagined yet, to fight threats we don't know about yet, to protect people in ways we haven't thought of yet. He paused, making eye contact with individuals around the room. You might find a camera tomorrow. You might never find one. But what matters is that you're prepared, that you have the skills, that you have the courage, that when the moment comes, and it will come, you'll choose to act instead of looking away. A hand went up. A young man in the front row. Mr. Stevens, what if we're wrong? What if we report something and it turns out to be nothing? Michael smiled. Then you apologize and move on. Being wrong is uncomfortable, but letting someone be victimized because you were too afraid of being wrong, that's unconscionable. I'd rather make 10 false reports than miss one real threat. Another hand. A woman in her 30s. What about the emotional toll? How do you keep doing this work year after year without burning out? Michael's expression grew more serious. That's the hardest question. And I don't have a perfect answer. I burned out. My marriage ended. I sacrificed a lot for this cause. But I've also learned that you can't do this work alone. You need community. You need support. You need to take breaks. You need to remember that you're fighting for a better world, not trying to save it single-handedly. He gestured around the room. That's why this training exists. Not so one person carries the entire burden, but so thousands of people each carry a small piece. Together we create a culture where privacy is protected, where surveillance is detected, where people look out for each other. That evening, Michael returned to his own hotel room, a room he'd already swept for cameras, as he always did. He sat on the bed, looking at the smoke detector that had started everything 12 years ago. His phone buzzed. A text from Detective Rachel Morrison. Saw your training session today. You're building something that will outlast all of us. Proud of you. Another text from Jennifer Hayes. Thank you for never giving up, for turning one discovery into a movement. You changed my life and thousands of others. Another from Agent Burke. Just arrested another operator using intelligence from the network you built. Case Summary 74. This work matters. Michael felt the weight of 12 years. The investigations, the trials, the advocacy, the education, the personal sacrifices.
but he also felt the lightness of knowing it had mattered, that real people had been protected, that real change had happened. He pulled out his laptop and recorded one final video, something he'd been thinking about for months. It's been 12 years since I found a camera in my hotel room, 12 years of fighting for privacy rights, 12 years of investigations and arrests and advocacy, and people keep asking me the same question. Was it worth it? The answer is complicated. It cost me my marriage. It consumed my life. It turned me into someone who can never fully relax in a hotel room, who always sees threats, who carries the weight of thousands of stories of violation and trauma. But here's what I gained. I helped protect over 50,000 people from privacy violations. I helped catch dozens of criminals. I helped change laws and industry practices. I helped build a movement of people who believe privacy matters and are willing to fight for it. Was it worth it? Ask the woman whose life was saved because she didn't get blackmailed. Ask the family that stayed together because their private moments weren't exposed. Ask the child who grew up with parents who weren't destroyed by extortion. Ask them if one person's choice to investigate and report mattered. I think they'd say yes. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to dedicate your entire life to a cause to make a difference. You just need to make one good choice in one important moment. Notice something wrong. Report it. Follow through. That's all it takes. I found a camera. I reported it. That was the beginning. Everything else, the investigations, the advocacy, the movement, that all grew from one simple choice to care about strangers' privacy. You have that same power in your hotel room, in your workplace, in your community, the power to notice, the power to care, the power to act. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for someone else to solve the problem. Don't convince yourself that your action won't matter. It will matter. I promise you, it will matter. 12 years ago, I was just a cybersecurity consultant on a business trip. Today, I'm someone who helped change how an entire industry thinks about privacy. That transformation happened because I chose courage over convenience in one crucial moment. What moment is waiting for you? What choice will you make when it arrives? Choose courage. Choose vigilance. Choose to care. Because somewhere right now, someone is being recorded without consent. Someone is being blackmailed. Someone is being victimized. And the person who can stop it might be you. Michael posted the video and closed his laptop. He looked around the hotel room, secured, swept, safe. Tomorrow he'd do it all again, and the day after that, and the day after that, because this was his life's work now. Not because he was special, not because he was a hero, but because he'd found a camera 12 years ago and made a choice that changed everything. And he'd keep making that choice, every single day for as long as it took, because privacy matters, dignity matters, safety matters, and someone has to fight for it. This story is dedicated to everyone who has ever chosen vigilance over convenience, who has reported something suspicious despite feeling awkward, and who has used their skills to protect others. Your awareness saves lives.
Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.